got a little listener feedback here, a little viewer mail. Just a few things that I printed off just at random. I've gotten a bunch of these, and of course we could sit here all day. It'd sound like I was one of the Republicans trying to block any progressive legislation by filibustering the thing if I read all of them. But hopefully this will be more entertaining than anything a Republican would read. One guy wrote, "Dear Mr. Cornette, I just wanted to write this humble little email to say thank you for sticking up for us wrestling fans on Cornette's commentary. It's nice to know at least one person in the wrestling business actually understands that the customer's opinion may actually matter despite the fact that we have never been in the business. Next, we won't be allowed to vote because we've never worked in the White House. And by the way, if we had matches longer than 4 minutes on Raw, which is a comment I made a while back, then A, the mid-card may seem like more than just filler. This could have catastrophic consequences like younger talent actually getting over and moving up the ladder, resulting in a freshening up of the product, and we can't have that. And B, we wouldn't have time to watch D-list celebrities wrestle in main event tag match with John Cena, making sure everyone watching thinks that wrestling should not be taken seriously. See Jay Leno, Dennis Rodman, David Arquette. This would be a roadblock in the WWE's quest to operate and suck identically to how WCW did in 1998 to 2001. Pay talent, stay at home, FCW equals power plant, Johnny Ace, old cripples in the main event, celebrities constantly in main event matches, same shit every show. You see where I'm going with this. Finally, if you see Russo, before you replace his teeth with your toes, would you please tell him, I know wrestling is, quote-unquote, fake. I also know Seinfeld is fake, but that fact never gave their writer's license to throw logic completely out the fucking window. Thank you, Edward, for that letter, and also from Pedro. Hopefully not Pedro Martinez or Pedro Morales, but... Dear Jim, I'm a huge fan from Los Angeles and thought you could use this as material for the Cornette's commentary broadcast. Enjoy. Below is the latest post from Bitchoff on Facebook. Now, this was June 6th, so this is fairly recent. Eric Bitchoff said, for those of you who want me to stick to wrestling, do yourself a favor and delete yourself as a fan of this page. It's my page. I'll post what I want when I want. For those of you who are dimensionally challenged, stick to the typical IWC site. See, that's what he derogatorily calls the wrestling fans, the Internet Wrestling Community, IWC. It's not an old independent federation. Raising the bar and banning stupidity one fan at a time is how he closed. Here was a hilarious response by a fan. The fan said, you're such a cocky bastard considering you're presiding over a show loaded with talent can barely crack a 1 rating on a consistent basis. Maybe you need to learn to connect with the fans some more, not feed us shit every week and present it as a program. Your wrestling is garbage. Your storylines are shit. You know, people think I'm stiff. Your storylines are shit. Hell, I can guarantee you, Eric, I could write a better month of programming than you have now. I could do it for free to make a fucking fool of you if you'd actually use it. But hell, you stick to the same old shit writers and shit formula and look at your ratings. But hey, have fun. Live in your own world and off your past. And then Pedro closes with TNA sucks and Russo's ruining the company. I love how Bitchoff is now using Russo logic, blaming the fans for his lack of success. Then he closes, keep up the good work at Ring of Honor. From Joe. Joe wrote a long letter. I'll just read one paragraph. He's talking about being a disenfranchised wrestling fan and then coming across the weekly podcast here on Who's Slammin' Who. And he was tickled, but at the same thing, he was depressed about TNA and WWE. So he says, down and out. I went to my computer and decided to give wrestling one more shot. Got on YouTube and fired up an episode of Ring of Honor on HDNet. Huh? What is this, I asked myself. Why are they wrestling? Shouldn't they be on a ramp yelling at each other or having a midget sit in a pie? Why doesn't anybody have a sledgehammer? And that's when I realized this is wrestling. Wrestling had become a joke. It had two faces, either that of a crappy sitcom or that of a laser stunt show with people jumping off roofs into a pool of razor blades while slack-jawed idiots just sat around screaming for more blood. Ring of Honor, on the other hand, showed me something I longed to see. Interesting matches, minimal run-ins, athleticism, but most of all, meaning. The matches mattered, the fans cared, the program flowed. It was incredible to see a 1-hour program that was filled with actual wrestling matches. You made a contract with the wrestling fans, and now I'd like to echo your sentiment. I'm on board with Ring of Honor's direction. I want my wrestling back. And I'm going to go for one more because, you know, Tommy, it may sound a little self-serving here. I'm patting myself on the back too much. Hope I don't dislocate my shoulder with all of these good words. So I thought I'd present the opposing point of view because, you know, there's been a lot of well-thought-out emails written to me, as I've just read, with people who had interesting points of view and expressed them in a literate and articulate way. So now I'd like to go to the other side of the coin, the people who disagree with me.
All righty.
This is from a guy named Scott Miller. Hi, Scott. I hope your mother hears this and you're 14 years old and she knows what kind of language you use. He says, Scott writes, "You're a fucking faggot. Go get raped, Cornette. You're a lost memory and mean nothing to wrestling anymore. Your time has come and gone in wrestling. You're just too ignorant to realize it." Of course, now I'm skipping over some misspellings here. "Ring of Honor sucked before you arrived, and now it sucks even more with you cutting the same goddamn promo style you've been using since the 80s, you outdate bitch. Move on with your life and be a goddamn man and accept that it's over and you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to hold on to your falling and fading star that started its decline in 1992. You're a bitch. P.S. I used to respect you for your work, and now I pity you. Pity with 2 T's. So there you have it. There's the opposing point of view, and I sincerely hope that Eric Bischoff's nephew would somehow learn to contain his language when he writes someone that he doesn't know. But anyway, that's some fan mail from here at Cornette's Commentary.
Very, very entertaining. And anyone that has any questions for Jim that perhaps he will read on the air in the future, you can shoot him over an email, jimcornette@jimcornette.com. Again, that's Jim Cornette @jimcornette.com, and also be sure to head over to jimcornette.com. jimcornette.com.
And also be sure to head over to ROHWrestling.com because we got to talk about this before we go. It's right around the corner. Death Before Dishonor 8, live on Internet pay-per-view from Toronto, Canada, the Ted Reeve Arena. It's going to be a tremendous night on Saturday, June 19th, and anybody with Internet access, and I talked about this with the Big Bang, where pro wrestling was going to explode into the 21st century. And we had several Match of the Year candidates on that show, including the Kings of Wrestling and the Briscoes, the triple threat match with Aries and Black and Strong. Christopher Daniels made a surprise debut. Davey Richards and Kenny King tore the house down. Well, in Toronto, I believe we may be able to top it because the world title is going to be on the line, the long-awaited chance. Davey Richards one-on-one against Tyler Black for the world title. Also, a rematch of the greatest tag team match of 2010. The Briscoes and the Kings of Wrestling, and I think this one's going to be a wrestling match, but I believe it's going to be a fight as well because, obviously, of the incident that took place at the last television taping with Chris Hero and Mark and Jay Briscoe's father. There's some emotions running high. Also, Christopher Daniels versus Kenny Omega. I mean, this is going to be innovative. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be technical wrestling. There's going to be athleticism. And also, if you want a good old-fashioned grudge match, El Generico and Kevin Steen, 6 months in the making, one-on-one, head-up in Toronto. We've talked about how that, we view Toronto as one of the big markets for Ring of Honor along with New York City, and Toronto is a great wrestling town with a tremendous wrestling tradition. And a lot of the, I don't say hardcore fans, I say die-hard fans, because it takes a lot to kill them. WWE and TNA haven't done it yet. And I think Toronto is going to be a great place for Death Before Dishonor 8 live on pay-per-view. But log on to GoFightLive.tv, $14.95 in the comfort of your own home right in front of your internet screen, whether it be anywhere from Zanzibar to the Zambui nation, anywhere from Maine to Spain on a choo-choo train, as the Dream Machine Troy Graham used to say. You can see Ring of Honor live, and it's going to be hot. And I'm looking forward to seeing the people in Toronto. First time I've been there in almost 10 years.
Sounds great. And as always, we'll be back next week with another edition of Cornette's Commentary here on Who's
Not as always. We've had trouble lately, but we promise we're going to be back next week. Don't put the pitchforks down. Put away your switchblades. We will be back.
Jimmy, thanks as always, and look forward to speaking to you next week, buddy.
Thanks, Tommy.